Hi guys, welcome to this next video. In this video, we'll be looking at the BMAT questions for the cell division topic. And in the previous video, guys, we looked at a related topic, cells and cell structure and cell transport. I really hope, guys, that was of great benefit. And I hope this one is of even greater benefit. Because remember, guys, this is one of the topics that comes up really often for BMAT biology. So we're going to start off with one of the sort of newer papers, which is BMAT 2018, where this was asked, question 9. So it reads, a sample of healthy human cells contains 4 cells. So we're starting off with 4 cells. After they're allowed to divide 5 times using the same type of cell division, there were 128 cells in the sample. So you see, guys, I'm really underlining the key features. It says, assuming that no mutations occur, which of the following statements are correct? So as before, guys, pause the video, give it a try, and come back after a minute. So let's go over this one, guys. So we're starting. So firstly, guys, before we even start, let's first devise what type of cell division this is. Remember, there's only really 2 types of cell division. We have mitosis, right, and we have meiosis, right. Literally, all you have to know for the BMAT, guys, you don't even have to know the details of like the different phases, like interphase, prophase, etc., etc. You don't have to know all of that. All you need to know, guys, is mitosis. You're going from 1 cell to 2 cells, and you're basically making clones. Whereas meiosis, you're going from 1 cell to 4 cells, and these are basically genetically different, right? So I'm just going to write G dot different, and yeah, so they are genetically different. And also another thing to add, this is how you make basically your body cells, right? Whereas this is how you make your gametes, so your sex cells, so your sperm and egg. So with this one, guys, let's deduce what type of cell division it is. So let's just assume it's mitosis first, right? That's the obvious place to start. So if we start with 4, right? So you basically just keep doubling each time. So each of those 4 is going to undergo mitosis. Each of them is going to produce 2. So 4 times 2 is going to be 8, right? Then you're going to keep going. Times by 2 again is going to be 16. Then you're going to go to 32. Then you're going to go to 64 until you reach the end, which is 128, right? So yeah, so we're going from 4 to 128, and it's the same type. So this is all mitosis. So let's see how many divisions that was. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this fits correctly. So we know basically it's mitosis. You guys are probably thinking like, why didn't I start with meiosis? Because it's just a bit longer, timesing everything by 4. So I'd always just go for the easiest option first, see if that fits, and then. But if it was meiosis, guys, it was, remember. Whoops, I'm gonna go back. If it was meiosis, guys, you'll start with 4, but then each one of those would make 4. So you basically have to keep timesing by 4. So you're basically gonna go 4, 16, 64, then you're gonna be 256, right? So that doesn't even reach 128. So that definitely can't be meiosis. So we basically know now it's mitosis. So is this guy here. And then all the cells would have the same number of chromosomes, right? So remember, guys, the cells are basically genetically different in mitosis, so this is going to be correct. Also, I should add it to one of the features of mitosis meiosis. So basically, what you're doing here is you're going from diploid to diploid, and all diploid means, guys, is you have 2 copies of each chromosome, so 2 copies of chromosome 1, etc. One from mom, one from dad. Whereas in meiosis, you're going from diploid to haploid, so basically only having 1 set of each chromosome, 1 chromosome 1, 1 chromosome 2, etc. The next one, so the cells were gametes, that's clearly wrong because that's a feature of meiosis, so this is going to be wrong. Number 3, the cells would be clones of the original cells. Yep, that's the feature of mitosis. And the type of cell division is called meiosis, which is obviously wrong. It's mitosis, right? So basically what we've identified, guys, it's going to be 1 and 3. So the answer is going to be B. And these questions are actually nice where they, give you each of the options only have 2 options, because, it avoids you, if you kind of know 2 of them are definitely correct and you're kind of unsure about the other one, the likelihood is that one's going to be wrong because only 2 of them can be right. So hopefully that was useful, guys, and we crack on in the next question. Okay, guys, so in the previous question, we were looking at this question, relatively straightforward. We just quickly went over what's required for you to know about mitosis and meiosis. Really basic, superficial knowledge, guys, nothing too detailed about what happens in particular in those cells. So let's move on to the next one, guys. So BMAT 2017. So I have a diagram it might be a bit more complicated. So hopefully this comes out quite clear. I know it's quite small, guys, but hopefully it comes out quite clearly. So we have Dolly the sheep was born in 1996. You probably heard of her in textbooks and stuff. She was unusual because she had no biological father, which is quite sad. She had a diploid number of 54, right? So diploid, you normally write that as 2n. So n just refers to, the number of chromosomes you have, and 2n means you have two copies of each chromosome. So we have 2n equals 54 in the body cells. The diagram shows the process of how she was produced. So basically, what you're doing is you're going to the mammary gland. So that's the gland that makes basically milk, and you take a cell from there. So you get your cultured mammary gland cells, and then from another female sheep, you get their egg cells, and you denucleate that. So you take away the nucleus, so you have an empty egg, right? And to the mammary gland cells, you basically extract the nucleus, which you can see over here, the black dot over here. But remember, the mammary gland cell is not a gamete. So anything which is not a gamete is going to have the diploid number of chromosomes because it's basically a body cell. So that's going to be your 2n number, and then you fuse those, and more or less uh, that basically gives you your zygote as it is. So you have the nucleus from the mammary gland cells. And basically, the thing is, guys, when you put, even though that was a mammary gland cell, which we got from here, if you extract the nucleus and you put that into an egg cell, it it's basically no longer a mammary gland cell, because the thing which is making it a mammary gland cell is the process of differentiation. And there's specific stuff in specifically the mammary gland cell, like proteins and stuff. You learn more about this in A level, which is making that a mammary gland cell. But if you just take the nucleus and put it into an empty egg, then it's basically a stem cell, an embryonic stem cell, right? So that's going to be a zygote. And then, yeah, you grow this a couple of times and it divides, right, by mitosis to make your early embryo, which is just a cluster of a couple of cells. Then you basically get that, and you get another third female sheep, and you implant that early embryo in there, and then she gives birth to Dolly. And then it says, which of the following statements about this process is or are correct? So I'll give you a minute, guys. Pause the video, come back after a minute, and we'll do our thing. Okay, guys, welcome back. So let's go through these options. So number one, the gamete cell nucleus contains 27 chromosomes, right? We know the diploid number, guys, is 54. So that's how much chromosomes are in body cells. And therefore, we know that gametes have the haploid number, which is going to be 27, right? So that should be correct. And yeah, gametes have the haploid number, which is 27. That's going to be correct. The cells produced in step 4, which is going to be these guys over here, right? Have the same properties as stem cells. Yep, they are basically stem cells. They are embryonic stem cells, so that's correct. And then none of the cells involved in the process were produced by meiosis. This is wrong, because look what we have here, guys. We basically have, look, we have an egg cell here, right? Remember, egg cells, gametes are produced by the process of meiosis. So yeah, there is a cell which is produced by us. So that's going to be wrong. And therefore, guys, the answer is going to be 1 and 2, so E. So hopefully that was useful, guys, and tag along for the next question. Hi, guys, welcome again. So BMAT 2017, interesting question. We actually got to, this is sort of an application question, so these are always a bit interesting. And we also learned a couple of things about stem cells, which was really good. So let's now move on to the next one, BMAT 2016. Put a star, meaning students generally find some confusion with this question. So it says, and it's towards the end, which also gives a hint as to why some people might have confusions. So which statement describes a role for mitosis? So it looks quite easy. So give it a go, guys. You have a minute, and then jump right back and we'll go through it. So guys, so remember mitosis, we talked about this, right? So asexual reproduction. So basically what asexual reproduction is, you're basically going from basically something like a organism, and you're making another organism which is basically identical, right? And obviously this is going to be a role for mitosis. Remember, it's basically clone formation. So this is definitely going to be the case. The next thing, growth of a cell. So this is one where a lot of students went wrong. So yeah, mitosis does grow tissue. Remember, tissue is a bundle of cells, and obviously mitosis makes more cells from less cells, and therefore you're growing the tissue. You're making more cells occur in that tissue. But growth of it doesn't really grow cells, right? Because your forming cell is going to be genetically basically fully identical to the cell you started with. It's going to be a clone. So it doesn't grow the cell, it's going to be identical. So it's going to be um, incorrect. And also, some of you guys may say, okay, surely you learn at AS interphase, a cell is growing there, right? So surely then mitosis should be it should have a role in growth of the cell. But remember, guys, that interphase stage is not part of mitosis. And even if it were the case, the overall process, this from start to end, you don't grow a cell. So that's another reason why it's wrong. The next one, repair of cells. Again, this is incorrect because the cells that are produced are genetically identical. So if you started off with a damaged cell, the chances are you're going to also produce a damaged cell. So this definitely can't be the case. And rather it's probably more repair of tissues, which you commonly see in textbooks and stuff, which is more of a role for mitosis. So the BMAT people are really clever, guys. The reason why they said people just see the word repair, be like, oh yeah, I've seen that word in association with mitosis, but you need to look really critically at repair of what, right? So this is going to be also incorrect. And stem cell division, that's going to be correct because remember, stem cells are essentially part of your body cells, and body cells divide using mitosis. So this is going to be correct, and therefore the answer is going to be A, guys. So really interesting question. Again, looking at the idea of, you have to critically read what the options are and come up with the valid answer. So hopefully that was good, guys, and come to the next question. Okay, guys, so in the previous question, we looked at this rather easy looking question, but in reality is not challenging, but it can easily catch you out if you're not careful. So now we're going to move on to the next one, guys, which was BMAT 2014 question 5. So it says, before a cell can divide by mitosis, DNA synthesis has to take place. So this is what happens in what we formerly know as interface, seeing as most of you are going to be AS students. Following DNA synthesis, the DNA is separated into each half of the cell, and then the cell divides. That's basically what we know already. The graph shows the DNA content per cell over a period of time. So you have 2 units changing between 2 units and 1 unit. And then it says which of the letters on the graph represent the sequence of the 3 events described above. So give this question a go, guys, and after a minute, come back and we'll go through the solution. So, guys, let's go through this. So let's actually see what's happening. So at part J, what's probably happening is that you probably just completed what you guys should know as telophase, but for the purpose of the BMAT, you don't really have to know that. So basically, what you probably have at J is that you have a big cell, and then you have 2 nuclei within them, and then basically you have splitted your um, duplicated chromosome. So you have something along those lines. And then in K is when you basically have cytokines. So basically your cell has split into 2. So now basically so this is what you have at this point. So at that point in time, whereas in this point of time, you basically have just 1 cell with 1 set of chromosome twice. So basically each cell has half the units of DNA as were originally there, right? And then in L, you basically stay in that state, so you're not really dividing. And then at M, what's going to happen is then you're going to get your DNA synthesis taking place. So you basically still have essentially 1 cell, and then you have 2 copies of that. And then basically what's going to happen in N is you get all your nice funky stuff which is happening in mitosis, so your prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and eventually telophase. And then if you basically follow this, guys, it should end up with going down and then etc. etc. So so when is the cell dividing? The cell is clearly dividing at point K, where you've split your DNA content into 2. So that's going to be K, so one of these options. And then DNA synthesis, that's taking place in M when you're doubling your DNA content. So it's going to be this one. And you're probably thinking, why is K like really steep and downwards, whereas M is just a gradual sort of increase? Because remember, guys, DNA synthesis takes time for all those enzymes to come in and do all their funky business, whereas the cell splitting is just it's basically just a ring around the cell, and it kind of pops it into 2, right? And at this point, you basically got answer. You don't even have to bother with the last one, so we know it's D. And this is also another technique, guys, to really save time. If you know that's the only answer and you don't even have to look at the last option, saves you a couple of seconds, which I say is a really good thing in the BMAT. And then lastly, and then the DNA separates, right? That's going to be basically N. Because remember, we said, guys, in N, all the funky stuff that's happening in mitosis happen. And remember, in anaphase, the DNA separates to opposite poles of itself. So yeah, hopefully that was useful, guys. It kind of helps if you have your thoughts about AS level mitosis, the details to answer this question. But really, it's not necessary, and you can probably answer it without that knowledge. So hopefully that helps, Kai. And looking forward to the next question. Okay, guys. Before in the previous question, we looked at BMAT 2014 question 5, which really took us to the next step where we were sort of looking at in detail what happens in mitosis. But you don't really have to know this, but it's kind of useful to know just briefly what happens. So we move now, guys, to the next question, BMAT 2011, question 5. So start question relative should be relatively straightforward. So the following statements relate to typical nuclear division in human cells. Remember, that's basically either mitosis or meiosis. And which statements are correct? So I'll give you a minute, guys. Come back when ready, and we'll move through this. So hopefully you had time, guys, and you've come up with an answer. So mitosis results in variation within the species. No, the variation is caused by meiosis and not mitosis. That's going to be wrong. Meiosis results in the production of genetically identical cells. No, that's going to be genetically different gametes, isn't it? So that's going to be incorrect as well. And you can basically stop now, guys, because look, all of the options have three options. So that means 3, 4, and 5 must be correct. So I can already say F is the answer, but let's just go through it. Mitosis results in the production of diploid cells. Yes, 2N. Meiosis results in the production of haploid cells. Yes, N. And mitosis results in the production of two daughter cells, which are obviously genetically identical. So quite an easy question, guys. And you see, guys, with that simple tactic, I know 1 and 2 is definitely incorrect. Therefore, all of the options have three options. 3, 4, and 5 is correct. That itself probably saved you like 10 seconds, which you could save for a physics question, which is probably going to be harder than this biology question. But yeah, hopefully that was useful, guys, and come to the next video. Okay, guys, in the previous episode, if you like, question 5, BMAT 2011, pretty straightforward question. We rattled through this quite quickly, so let's hope that's the same for the next one. So BMAT 2010, question 21. The following statements about nuclear division by meiosis and mitosis, almost an identical stem to the question as the previous one, and which of these statements are true? Give yourself a minute, pause the video, guys, and attempt this if you will. So welcome back, guys. This is rattle through. So in animals, meiosis only occurs in the reproductive organs. So meiosis is only for gamete formation, and gamete formation, egg cells and sperm cells, happens in reproductive organs. So that is true, right? Mitosis can result in the formation of clones. Yes, that is true. It mainly does, but the reason I say it can result and not must result is the fact that in between the process, you can obviously get mutations which can mean one cell is one thing and the other cell is another thing. So that's why it says can, if you're wondering. Meiosis results in 2 nuclei. No, it should be 4. Mitosis results in 4. No, that's 2. So these two basically should be switched around, essentially, if I'm trying to correct that. And yeah, similar to before, guys, look, there's 3 options. So I know 5 has to be correct. So 1, 2, and 5. So the answer will be B. And this is ascertain the last one. Meiosis does not occur during asexual reproduction. Mitosis instead occurs for that. So yeah, this is correct. So the answer is going to be B. Pretty straightforward. This is what I mean, guys. The last question, the terminal question, this is question 21, is quite at the end of the paper, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be hard. So you have a few easy ones like this. So I'll see you guys in the next clip. Okay, guys, in the previous clip, we were considering this question, BMAT 2010-21, which was a relatively straightforward question and actually pretty same as the question before this, where, we're just comparing meiosis and mitosis. So what you're really seeing, guys, is a lot of the marks are going to be formed from cell division questions in some papers, not necessarily true for all papers, but those are really easy marks, guys. It's mainly just, compare meiosis with mitosis, really basic stuff like one cell, making 2 cells compared to making 4 cells, haploid, diploid, that sort of idea. So we move on, guys. BMAT 2009, question 5. So it says, which of the following statements is true about members of a clone? So give this question a try, guys. 1 minute timer, come back and we'll go through it. So guys, welcome back. So it says members of a clone would always show identical features at maturity. This is incorrect because remember, guys, features, this idea of features is basically talking about, you probably heard of this word, which we're going to look at more actually in the next topic, which is inheritance. But phenotype is basically what you present with, what you show, what you can see with your eyes. So that's your yeah, that's your phenotype. And basically, obviously, the thing which is coding, which is accounting for a lot of that, is your genotype. So that's going to be your genotype, which is basically your genetic makeup, right? So clones would have the same genotype, but it doesn't necessarily mean, guys, you'll have the same phenotype, because the phenotype is dependent on your genotype, right? So your genetic makeup, but also the environment. So, for example, how fat you are, for example, right? So some genes play a role in, how hungry you are. Hence, they're going to determine how basically fat you are. But if you live in America compared to if you live in Japan, say, right, that's going to affect your access to fast food, and therefore going to, also affect your fatness, if you like, right? So yeah, so this is going to be incorrect, right? Uh, yeah, and then multiple births, such as twins, are always members of a clone, right? This, yeah, this is not necessarily the case, because um, if for example the mother releases one egg, right, and then that's joined by a sperm, that's going to make a zygote, and then it divides a few times, and then the embryo splits, then you're obviously going to get multiple births. You're going to get two different babies, and they're obviously going to be clones of each other, genetically speaking, right? But what can happen sometimes is that the mother can, rather than release one egg per menstrual cycle, they can release two eggs, right? And remember, gametes are genetically different, so you can release two different eggs, and basically the likelihood is they're going to be fertilized by two different sperms, and therefore you're going to make two embryos, but these two embryos are basically fully different, right? So they don't always have to be members of a clone. If you think of the latter example, that's going to be incorrect. And then they are produced only during genetic engineering. That's wrong. We've seen this idea of asexual reproduction, and that happens in nature. That's going to be wrong. They are the result of a mutation. No, we don't necessarily have to have a mutation. And really, a mutation is only going to make you not be a clone. It's going to make you become different. And they contain identical DNA, which is obviously the right answer, um, because their genotype is going to be the same with clones. So the answer is E. Pretty annoying question that they, put the right answer at the end, so I have to go through all of the answers. But yeah, not too difficult, I hope, nonetheless. And hopefully you got that idea of different types of twins you can get. So yeah, this is actually the end, guys, of the series of video on cell division. I hope that was really useful. The next topic, guys, as you can see from here, is going to be inheritance, a really juicy topic that you should definitely come to, and I'm sure you're going to learn a lot of different facts about that topic. But other than that, you're free to go, guys. Also, comment down below if you have any problems. Like, comment, subscribe. All your support, guys, will just make me produce more videos, and hopefully, guys, that was really helpful. So see you soon.